We've been asked by our community multiple times to provide a resource for getting your oil changed in a timely fashion. We have been very reluctant to provide this type of service to our community because after 33 years in this industry, most of the types of services are inadequate, and we will not deliver a service to our community for the sake of just fulfilling that category if it isn't of the standard of qualities that we support you as a consumer decide to support as well. So with us today to talk about getting your oil changed in a timely fashion and have it done properly is the owner of Scotty's Lube Pros, Rob McMullen, and it's a privilege to have you on our show. Thanks for accepting our invitation.
Good morning, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
I mentioned we really have had an issue endorsing any of these get it in, get it out oil changes, and you and I have had this conversation as to why. So let's start by sharing with our community what they should know before choosing a shop to change their oil in a timely fashion.
You know, Mitch, one of the first things that the consumer needs to consider that we all understand our time is valuable, and the quicker we can get things done, obviously we can go on with our day and get some other stuff done. But trying to get your oil changed in 10 minutes or even 20 minutes, in my professional opinion, that's not enough time to properly inspect a vehicle and change the oil at that time.
Well, and you just said it, inspect the vehicle. This is one of our biggest problems endorsing most of these types of establishments is they're using less qualified staff, inferior products, oils or filters that are not necessarily OEM approved, and that they're using a staff that all they do is that one thing, and they're not looking at other things, and they could have saved somebody thousands of dollars had they. So let's talk about your inspection process. What do they get with an oil change at Scotty's Lube Pros?
Well, first we need to be aware that taking your car in for an oil change is absolutely very important, but more important that the vehicle gets a safety inspection while it's in there, not just having your oil changed. The things that we do during that inspection, we're going to be looking at the belts, the hoses. We're going to also look up the manufactured recommended service intervals on things such as timing belts. We're going to check the shocks, look at the brakes, look at the exhaust system, look the vehicle over as a whole and not just bring it in to have the oil changed.
Well, we even mentioned that some of these things could be life-saving. Like you said, the brake inspections, finding something that is wrong while you're under there because you have a trained, certified technician. And that's one of the things is credentials are important to you in that process. These are not high school dropouts working for you.
That's correct. Our guys are ASE certified and have been in the industry. And when we do bring on a new technician, he gets mentored by a shop foreman or one of the other professionals. And don't just throw him out there to do that job because we do realize it's very important, not just changing the oil.
And things that you mentioned when we were talking about this were that you even inspect all of the bulbs on the car.
You know, Mitch, how many times a day do you drive around and you see a turn signal doesn't work or there's a brake light out? That may be your car. And if you're just taking it in for an oil change, they may not be inspecting those lights. And that's one thing that we do, along with many others, when you bring your vehicle in.
Well, and you're talking safety, because if you're not visible in an intersection because your corner marker lamp is out, or you can get a ticket for it. I mean, just the inconvenience of not having somebody check that for you, you would assume that's being done. And I think the old days where we used to go into a full-service gas station, and okay, so I'm giving chronologically some indication of my age, where we used to have them check our oil and tire pressures and all our lights. I mean, they did this stuff every time we got gas. But most people aren't doing that, and that's why I think this is even more important, that when you're changing your oil, you have it done by a qualified shop. And let's talk about the quality parts and oils, because I mentioned that. I don't think we've talked about it briefly on a previous show, but most people, I don't know that they realize there are several different ratings on an oil container, and having the right one that matches their car, it's more than just putting oil in their car. And some of these very inexpensive, attractive, get you in, get you out oil changes are using inferior oils, which can, ultimately lead to tremendous expenses.
That's right, Mitch. The the manufacturer recommends a certain not only weight of oil, but also the different ratings. So, and you have oils, petroleum-based, synthetics, full synthetics, high mileage type oils. They all have a specific rating, and each vehicle requires that rating. And if you choose not to use those oils, or other companies not installing the correct oils, it can and will do harm to your vehicle.
And how about the quality of even the oil filter? You're not using the cheapest, you're using the best. I mean, I had this conversation even with your shop manager recently. It's like he was sharing with me that some of the parts that you buy, even when you get into your brake jobs that you offer on the property, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that you buy the top of the line pads even. It's just like you don't skimp on those. And why is that important?
Well, it's like anything, Mitch. You get what you pay for. The cheaper you pay for a filter or brake pads or whatever it may be, the cheaper the quality is in that product. And we don't believe that that's the right thing to do for the consumer.
So you may pay a little less, but you get less life expectancy or wear and tear out of that item. So ultimately, a couple of dollar savings could cost you thousands of dollars. And I think that's one of the key elements of your inspection process. We talked about this. How often have you found something while you're under a car that fixed now, brought to a consumer's attention, could have saved them a lot of money?
You bring up a good point. It's if we can catch something before it becomes catastrophic, we can typically save lots of money if we do it before it fails. And the other thing is, it's not going to leave the customer stranded.
Well, and we're talking, I think people have this impression that the quality that we're talking about is, like 10 times more expensive, and it's not. I mean, we're talking a few dollars in oil change more than they would pay for a discount oil change, but getting quality products, a full inspection, and a quality shop that could save them, like I said. Like, give us some examples of some of the problems that you've saved people the catastrophic failure over while you were inspecting their car during the oil change.
Something as simple as an axle seal leaking, Mitch. Catch that while it's leaking versus allowing it to drain all the transmission fluid out and then the transmission fail and cost $2,500 versus a couple $100 repair.
And now you're talking about that oil change just became free in the money you saved.
Sure.
Now, one of the other things too is I think this is an incredible part of what you do is while you're there, you have several different businesses all under one roof. So should they need anything else, you have the facilities and the same integrity, quality, and commitment to our community in every one of these different operations that you service in this one location. Share with them what they can, what types of services overall they can get at your location.
Yeah, Mitch, that's one of the things that really sets us apart from the quick lube shops is that, when we're doing that inspection and we're looking underneath the vehicle, we want to make sure it's as safe as possible, and we also have the ability to take care of those problems either at that time or schedule an appointment if that's required. And so with RPM Automotive, which is our fleet maintenance and general automotive repair, also Scotty's Transmissions in the same building, along with Clutch Pros. So between the four businesses there, we can take care of the vehicle front to back.
And it's the same, again, I think this is the beautiful part of why I love having you on our show, and we've asked you to be a regular guest because our community really needs to know about your business and what the difference is between yours and the industry average. And mediocrity, like I said, doesn't suffice for us, but this is a top business model. Integrity, honesty. They use the highest quality products. The installations are done properly. They stand behind their work, and they do just about everything under one roof, as you just heard. And I love that about you is that we can get so many services in one place and have integrity behind that and quality behind it. I really thank you for that in our community. You service a lot of fleets, as a matter of fact. If you don't mind sharing a few of...
We do. Service utility companies, cable companies, municipalities such as police fleets and parks and recreation vehicles, many large construction companies, along with many small businesses.
So if they wanted to get a hold of you for, again, RPM Automotive, which is your fleet and general maintenance, Scotty's Transmission, the Lube Pros, and the Clutch Pros, how would they get a hold of you?
Our direct line, RPM Automotive, 775-359-0840. Scotty's Transmissions at 359-7676. Scotty's Lube Pros at 359-1177. And Clutch Pros at 359-1133.
And so the next question is for the person that is time conscientious. So we've just described a complete inspection process, but what type of time frame? Like, you still have the similar types of bays where you can pull up to Scotty's Lube Pros and have your car brought in a reasonable amount of time and serviced and done. What kind of time frame would they typically expect?
In most instances, Mitch, about 30 minutes at the most. You know, at times it can be very busy, and if there's a long line, it could be a little longer. But our philosophy is not about car count. It's about taking the time for your vehicle and also taking the time for the vehicle that's ahead of you. We don't want to rush them through to get the next guy in.
And so this is still not a significant difference in time commitment on a consumer to get the quality that we endorse as a show. And this is what we want our community to understand, and why we have waited for you to accept our invitation to introduce this type of service to our community. Thank you so much for being with us and a part of our commitment to educating our consumers one car buyer at a time. That's Rob McMullen with Scotty's Lube Pros.